So here we are, one more time. I am Bill Wagner, and if you've been following the content that I've been putting out on the Game Haus, you'll know that the gentleman that I'm talking to right now, he's part of the story arc that I've been following when it comes to SGN. What it started off with the introductory blog post, and I'll put that in the description below. I did the interview with the guys from SGN recently about their event coming up next weekend, and now I have with me today Coach Hart. He is the voice behind SGN. He's a direct partner with SGN Sports Gamers now with his broadcasting arm, CMG Broadcasting, and what Coach Hart offers and brings to the table for SGN is the professional feel of a caster, and he fits right in with the whole brand of SGN, because what SGN is about is sports games. You're talking Madden, you're talking FIFA, MLB, those competitive games are vastly underserved, and I really think what Coach Hart and SGN are putting together is awesome. So I'm going to let the coach introduce himself a little bit. We're going to talk about his background, his genesis, how he got into it, and then we'll go from there. So go ahead, Coach.
All right. Hey, I appreciate the introduction, man. That you hit every single nail on the head right there. That was perfect. Yeah, I am Coach Hart. I'm Coach Hart because I coach high school football. I teach high school math, and I coached college football for 4 years before I did that. So that gives me that kind of football and kind of seeing it from not only a broadcaster's perspective but a coach's perspective as well. CMG was an idea that I had at the end of Madden 18, and I tried to do it for some leagues for free at the end of Madden 18 to see kind of what the community was saying, and they bought into it all the way. And I love it because I get to have fun. I get to watch some great games, and I get to call some great games. And, with CMG, when I ran into Mike over at sportsgamersnow.com, who, if you have not been to that site, make sure you go there. I'm going to throw every plug I can their way this interview, that's for sure.
That's right.
But, once I got combined with those guys and Mike saw some of the work I did a tournament for him to see kind of what he would bring from that perspective. It just took off from there and skyrocketed, and we're where we are today, which is where we're still growing, but we're signing some Madden players. We've got a Call of Duty team over at SGN, and a lot more plans in the future, not to mention the tournament that they've got coming up for a contract. It's $50 to get in. If you win in Madden, you get a contract with SGN, which the guys that went to Vegas recently will tell you it's a pretty good thing to have. So
yes, absolutely. And that and I see people online, streamers and players, often talk about the perception of the lack of opportunity. And what the guys at SGN are doing and what they're building is an excellent opportunity. They are, I talked to both of them, and what they're doing is they see a major weakness in the market right now. You have the Call of Duty games, you have the first person shooters, you have the card games, you have the strategy games, but the sports games in general are underserved. Yes, you have the Madden Championship that gets noticed for like maybe once a year for 5 minutes, but what's the feeder system for that? And it's the same with the 2K League. Yes, you have this overarching concept of the NBA 2K League, which the National Basketball Association is fully supporting. But how do you get from point A, where you're a player and a streamer, to point Z, where you're getting paid to be a professional gamer? And I think what you guys are offering in your partnership with SGN and yourself is you're giving people the opportunity to grow. You're giving them feedback. They stream and play and compete, and not only are they improving their in-game skills, but they're improving their online presence and how they are perceived by the public in general. And one big part of that, and this is the point that I want to get to, is the casting part of it. I wrote an article on LinkedIn about a year and a half ago, and I extol the virtues of casters and how we need casters, especially in esports, because the people who are the casters right now, whether you're talking the old school StarCraft people that I talk about in the article, or you're talking about yourself, you have the perspective of, we played these things growing up, and now here we are at this point where these players and streamers are not just grinding online, they're growing into superstars. So how do you see the whole picture of what it means to be an online personality? Because there's a lot of pieces to it, and you are one small part of that. So sort of talk about how you fit in, how you think the whole concept of casting fits into that.
Well, I've got to tell you, you hit the nail on the head with your article when you were talking about, which if people haven't seen it, definitely go check it out, because it's like you said, when you think about all of your memories watching a sport growing up, you remember not only the sport but the voices that went with it. And those of us that grew up in the 90s and 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, I mean, what do you remember? You remember Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Yes.
I mean, that was it. And right now, like, people just know about Joe Buck because you either hate him or love him, but you still know who he is.
Exactly.
More people hate him, but either way, that's their decision. But it's like you said, the voices behind the games as well is what we remember too. You get that when you get that nostalgia. And what we at CMG are trying to do with SGN is, from the casting side, is give people the voice, because I've had a blast doing this, but my casts have definitely changed from when I started, because we make sure to listen to what the community is saying, because they're the ones that are watching. If the numbers start going down, they're going down for a reason, and if they go up, they're going up for a reason.
Right.
But giving the casters the ability to carve out their personality. Anybody who's listened to our guy Superb Drunk do any of his games, he's got a personality. It is watching games at the saloon, and that's what we try to embrace at CMG. Give it that almost WWE feeling, right, of developing your persona, and people are either going to love you or hate you. But that's what's going to make this sports grow, because that's what's going to get more people watching.
Exactly, and I like that you also understand the perspective, and I say this to people all the time who want to get into esports and don't understand what casting is. I mean, when you go back to the time where the only way people consumed their media was on the radio. Radio was all people had. There weren't any newspapers, but you had a radio. And as foreign as that concept might be, that was some people's only connection to the outside world. And the voices that you heard, you're talking Vin Scully, you're talking Vin Scully, you're talking Amerny Harwell, you're talking Jack Buck. I mean, you're talking these people. Exactly. I mean, you're talking about the voices who are the soundtrack of our youth, and I say this often. Back in the early back in the 2000s, when Jack Buck died. He died in early 2002. When Jack Buck died, it was a huge hit for that area of the country. And my mom, who grew up in the St. Louis area, was a huge Jack Buck fan, and she cried.
Yeah.
And she physically cried when Jack Buck died, and she never met the man, but she had that deep emotional connection to growing up and listening to Jack Buck's voice. And she was a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and only because that was the one thing that she could listen to. And I think that it's in this technology age, we get lost in the picture that flashes in front of our eyes because everything changes. But when you get to the core of what casting is, and you get to the core, you're sharing a moment with a friend, and that's at the core what we want. We, as fans, as humans in general, we want to share an experience with somebody that we can go, hey, remember that one time? And be like, yeah, we were there. That was pretty epic. And that's what casting is. You're sitting with your friend and you're telling stories back and forth and you're watching it together. And the good casters know when to talk, and they know when to shut up too. They know when, like, you don't have to fill the space with noise. Often you just get to sit and watch the emotion. So I guess as a transition, as I kind of ramble on and on here, sort of talk about for yourself what it, where you came from, your own little kind of growth process in this, because you do this because you love it. Now, you have a regular job. You're a high school teacher, and by the way, I respect you greatly for being a high school teacher. I could never. I mean, I was a horrible teenager, so I know how that works. But
yeah, it's got its challenges.
It does. But sort of talk about what you get out of casting. How you started, why you do it. Why do you even do it? Because you're not doing this because you're making thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. You're doing it because you love sports games and you love what you do. So sort of talk about your own little genesis in there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it started in Madden 18. I got to the end of the football season as a football coach, and for us, the football season, I never really get to play Madden or do anything, and my casting schedule was basically late night, and that's it. But I got to come home, and I was playing Madden, and being a math teacher, I'm all about the numbers. And I was just thinking to myself one day about, and as a teacher, we don't get paid a lot, so I was thinking about ways that I can make some money. And, I thought about casting, and I was like, I'm not going to ask for a ton of money because I doubt anybody's going to want to pay it. But I figured maybe I could do this and get paid to do it eventually because it just sounded like fun. And when I looked for people who did it, there really wasn't a lot of people out there. So, I took the idea, I took off with it. And being a coach, when I started out, I kind of saw it from a coach's perspective. And when you're a coach in the game, you really try not to let yourself get real excited or real depressed because you don't want your team to see that. So I kind of brought that to my casting, which wasn't the greatest thing in the world because it was kind of bland and there wasn't a lot of emotion in it. And the people got to me real quick, and Mike was one of them, and he told me, just sound excited to be there. And that helped me just figure out I need to develop my personality and my personality within it as a coach still, but still then having that actual personality that you can enjoy, like you say, watching a game with. Because I think you hit the nail on the head. We are people that you are sitting there watching the game with, and we're just telling a story as we go. And, as I've grown, I've gotten a lot more invested in games, and it's been fun to really just get excited about watching a game. And, we try to make sure that I let all my casters know that's what I want. As long as it sounds like you're excited to be there, I'm happy. And I think that's just what people like watching too, because, when you're bland and just saying what's going on, anybody's like, yeah, I can watch that and see that's happening. But when you actually get excited about it and talk about how that pulling guard blew up that linebacker, and man, what a block to free the running back. You know,
Right.
people just appreciate that.
See, and I think that it's also important that people understand that you are developing a relationship with the listener.
Exactly.
You can't just come out of the box as this wild and crazy person if it doesn't make sense for your personality and for the game. When people think of iconic broadcasters, you know, one of the names that comes to mind is the old Cubs broadcaster Harry Carey. And
Yeah,
I mean, when he started, he was, you know, he was a young man, and he developed into this figure who was an icon of Cubs baseball, and it got to the point at the end of his career and at the end of his life where he could do almost anything he wanted on air and nobody would care because Harry Carey had been there forever. Harry Carey was the guy. He turned into part of the experience. But that didn't just happen in like 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. He did it for a long time. And you know when you've arrived as a personality when you're being spoofed by other people. And so
Exactly.
right, so when people start doing Harry Carey impressions, you know you're aces. People love you. But I don't think that people really understand what that means to build to that point, because it's a grind. You have to put in the time and the years, and you're going to get ignored, and you're going to get mocked and made fun of. But in the end, and this is just how I see it. In the end, what you really want is just a reaction from people. If they don't tune in and at least say something, I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen. Anything else, whether they love you or they hate you, and people don't like when it comes to Joe Buck. People hate Joe Buck, but guess what? They react to Joe Buck. He comes off as this, like, he looks like a piece of cardboard sometimes. He just kind of sits there and talks into the microphone once in a while. But people react to Joe Buck, and that's what you want in the end. You just want people to react to you as a caster, hate you or love you. So what are a few tips that you can give as somebody who's been doing it for a little bit, somebody on the way up there, like I love casting, I'm really smart, you know, I understand the strategies. What are some tips that you could give people who want to get into the casting side of things? They're looking for gigs, they want to get better, and they want to improve. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know, it's really, like you said, a grind, and I think you put it best when you said people are going to say no, people are going to mock you, because I mean, I had that just the other day. I was doing a broadcast for a game, and someone came into my Twitch chat and was just saying that the broadcast was terrible, a bland announcer, not really, you know, and just really bringing me down. But you've got to remember, as a caster, any publicity is good publicity, unless you're, like, obviously taking a shit on the statue or something. You don't want to do that.
Right.
You know, don't let a picture of that get out. But, you know, if people are coming to your channel, like you said, we just want people to react. And it was crazy. It was actually one of the first times I've had somebody coming in and saying bad things. But, you know, all you can do is just appreciate the support and not give anybody a reason to dislike you. So, I mean, I didn't talk back to him. I just said, appreciate you coming out, listening to the cast, and, you know, giving us your opinion. But from there on, you know, just remember, as long as people are seeing you, that's what we try to do. And I think just a couple of tips is understand that the audience is the reason that you're here. It's not you. It's not anything else. It's the audience. People who are watching you and taking their time, those are the ones you got to appreciate, and those are the ones you got to cater to. And if you don't, then you may shoot up real quick, but you are going to drop real quick as well, because when the audience does not feel appreciated or wanted, they don't keep coming back. And really, just as a caster, get your name out there and do as much work as you can. But when you're doing work, treat every job the same and treat it like it's the last thing you're going to do. And if I'm going to do this cast on Tuesday at 6, I better have the same energy and the same hype as when I'm doing it Saturday at 10 p.m. and everybody's watching. Don't let yourself slack off, because those develop the bad habits, and those are the things that can kill you as a caster. So you just need to remember the audience, keep the same energy all the time, and don't be afraid to go over the top. Just make them react.
Awesome. And I appreciate you taking the time to sit here and talk to me. So as we wrap this up and we look forward to what's coming up here in the future. So December 15th and 16th over at SGN is the baseball tournament. I talked about it previously. They're partnering with Robert Flores. He's an anchor on the MLB network. He's going to be directly involved with that, both on the anchor side and the host side. And then so then, Coach. So at the outset when we started this, you talked about the contract tournament that is coming up for Madden. So do you have any more details on that one?
Yeah, no. The first, I definitely want to say shout out to that tournament, the MLB tournament. Robert Flores, an ESPN anchor, MLB Network anchor. I will say one of the craziest days for me was when we did a charity stream tournament for True Boy and Skim. I actually got retweeted by Robert Flores, and I felt like I made it at that point.
Nice.
I was like, damn, that's pretty good. But with him coming out, he's somebody who loves the esports game and obviously the MLB, so we're partnering with him to get a tournament going. And we're going to have Kep on the call with that as well, Big Kep 13 for any of those of you who are familiar with him. Those guys are going to co-host a couple of the games that we've got late in the tournament. And we are super excited to see how the community reacts to this, and how Robert and Kep deal with each other, and how it sounds, and how just everybody receives it. But we do have a contract tournament as well, and that's again with Sports Gamers Now. It's $50 to enter, and the person who wins is going to get a contract, a Madden contract with SGN, SportsGamersNow.com. And we recently sent our team, I think it was 5 guys, got flown to Vegas, put up in a hotel. And if you check out the Sports Gamers Now Twitter, there was a ton of fun going on. They had some pool games where the loser had to jump into a pool, in the beginning of December. And there were some great videos from guys that lost and had to do that. But shout out to Mike Bruin. He is one of the guys over at SGN who is managing it all and doing it all. And, none of this happens without him, and none of CMG right now where we're at happens without him either. So I want to just throw a quick shout out and a thank you to him. But it's the contract tournament is an interesting one. Second place does get a prize as well. I think it's like $250 or something like that. But the first place prize is much bigger, and you get that contract with SGN. And it's going to be a Madden tournament. I think there is a PS4 and an Xbox side, so there may be 2 contracts going out, but do not quote me on that one.
Got it.
But we've got at least one going out, and yeah, we are super excited for that. I'm pretty sure CMG is going to be calling, if not the championship game, probably the semifinals as well. That's what we usually do with our SGN tournaments, so make sure you're coming out listening to the call on that one, because those are going to be some great games, as we have guys that are vying for a professional contract.
That is an awesome opportunity. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Coach, thanks for making time for me to talk. You can check out the CMG Broadcasting on Twitter at the Coach Hart, H-A-R-T, at the Coach Hart. Check out sportsgamersnow.com. The here in about 7 days, the tournament we talked about for MLB will be happening the 15th and 16th. You have the contract tournament coming up as well. Go over to the site, check out the details there. Coach, thank you very, very much for making time for me. I know as a teacher that you like your weekends, you like the peace and quiet to be away from all the teenagers. So thank you very much for taking time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come out and talk about what CMG does. And I do want to throw out one more thing.
Okay.
Don't forget, if there's any broadcasters that would be interested in joining the family, we at CMG do pay you per game that you do. So just get in touch with us on Twitter today at @DCoachHart, and we just do a quick audition game, and then you are good to go and can make money per game and grow yourself as a broadcaster.
That's an excellent opportunity. Thank you very much, Coach. Everybody, check out thegamehaus.com. The Game Haus, HAUS.com. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You can drop a like and a subscribe on the video, as well as subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time to talk to me, and I will see you very soon.
If you liked that, hit the subscribe button for more interviews and other great sports and esports content. Make sure to also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on all the news from your favorite sports and esports players and teams. From our house to yours.